Good morning and welcome to Backyard and Beyond. And we're visiting with Robert Jensen of Audubon Way. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning.
Well, Robert, the weather, these nice days, if people are at all interested in planting, they are getting so anxious, but we maybe need to wait a little for that outdoor stuff. But I understand you already have some plants started indoors. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have about 200 started.
200? So what do you have started at this point indoors?
Well, the 1st of March we start cabbage, and then about the 15th we start broccoli, cauliflower, peppers, and then some tomatoes. And then later on in March we'll start the balance of our tomatoes.
And saying that, some people are going, what? Starting some of those things so early. So tell us, what are you going to do with all those things that you grow?
Well, about the middle of April, the cabbage, we'll start setting those out, and then the first full week in May, we start on the rest.
Okay, and then how do you sell those in a special place, right? These aren't all 200 plants aren't all for you, are they?
There's some people that come around and they'll get some tomato plants from us and pepper plants and stuff like that.
Okay, okay. Well, you were one of the presenters at the garden seminar last Saturday, and I sat in on your class, and I learned some things that I thought it would be fun for you to share with folks, because you don't have to have a great big garden spot to start a few things that you can put in a container or a very small plot. So tell us some things, what's the first thing you need to consider if you're going to start some seeds indoors? Where do you start?
I guess you get there's these kits out that you can start seed in, and select a potting soil for starting seeds, and then just follow the directions on those. Some of them have plastic inserts, some of them have fiber inserts. There was a lady in the class brought up the fact that she used egg flats to start seed in, and that's a pretty unique deal.
And the person sitting behind me in that class said, yeah, and when we were in school we used to plant them in egg cartons. For kids, but we could do that at home too if we just need a few plants.
Yep.
Because that stuff is a pretty good material actually to start some things in.
Well, the egg flats would be cardboard, and they just decompose. So.
Yes, get them right out into the garden. So we need some soil. Any special kind of soil that you recommend? I mean, is there some soil that would be better for plants than just our old house plant soil? Maybe that's not the best thing.
Well, there's some commercial just potting soil for starting seeds now on the market, and I've tried it, and it appears like it works pretty good. Now, some people will go out in the pasture with gophers starting to dig now, and they'll get that dirt and then mix it with some humus that they pick up at a garden supply store.
Hey, great idea, because that's pretty fine soil. It's not all compact because the gophers have done all that work for us.
Right.
Good idea. Okay, so we've got some soil, we've got some kind of container, and I'm thinking you could even do that in like the bottom of a plastic milk jug if you put some holes in the bottom, and unless you're going to get real serious about it, there's lots of options for what you put them in.
Yeah, or you could use a soft drink cup too, and just poke a hole so the excess water drains out of them.
Yeah, very good. You just don't want it too deep. You told us a story about that I think you said this isn't the thing to do.
Well, yeah, we used to grow them in soft drink cups, and we just overwatered them.
Yeah. So you have to be a little careful.
Had a lot of root rot and had a lot of stalk rot. So.
Okay, so we've got our soil, we've got a container, and in your class you even mentioned you maybe want to be a little careful about where you get your seeds and your plants from.
Well, I think you want to pick a supplier that this is in our zone that would be familiar with our weather swings and so on like that. So, I mean, if you go to Florida and get them, get seed from a catalog out of Florida, they're looking at selling seed, of course, and they may not be set up for the zone here in southern Iowa. So.
I think there's some catalogs from like Minnesota, and then of course you mentioned the one that Shenandoah. Can we go online and get seeds or look at the catalogs from Shenandoah?
I believe so. I believe so, because they have discontinued putting out a catalog, but I think it still is available online.
Okay, so kind of take a look at that, because once you get a garden catalog, you're going to start getting all kinds of them. So be a little selective there.
And there's always they always seem like they have a special to run
Yes.
real early in the season or late in the season too. So a guy
Yeah.
kind of wants to be in on that if it's available.
Yeah. So kind of be planning ahead. It's not too late to do some of the planning as well as the planting. Okay, so we got seed, we got soil. Then you talked about watering, and you just said, we don't want to water them too much. How do you tell? How do you start out with the amount of water?
Well, we put the soil in the individual starting cells, and then water it and leave it set for a while so that it's got a chance to soak in, and then we just plant the seed. And I leave it up to my wife for the watering, and she on the seedlings, if you just scrape the top off and put your finger in there, and if you have any soil stick to your finger, it should be moist enough for another day.
Okay, that's a good little test.
And if it gets a little bit dry, as long as you have some moisture in the subsurface, it'll just encourage the roots to grow too for that.
Okay.
So it kind of helps with the plant.
So that's the reason for scraping it away a little bit and getting down into the depth, not just feeling the top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe 1/8 of an inch. I mean, you don't have to go down
Right.
very far.
Yeah, right.
As far as a seedling goes.
Okay. So we have some moisture, and it really helps those plants at the beginning, the seeds, to get started, germinate with a little warmth. How do you provide that?
Well, I read a deal in a seed catalog, and they suggested just putting them up on top of your refrigerator with the defrosting, self-defrost on these refrigerators. There's about 80-degree heat that would come up the back of the refrigerator, and we just set them up there, and
Perfect.
it's out of the way. And 3 to 4 days, you check them and see how if they've if one has started coming through, you want to take it down and get it under the light so it'll start growing.
Can we be successful without having special lights, do you think?
Yeah, there was one gentleman there that just used regular cool white fluorescent bulbs in 4-foot shop lights, and then put the plants in a south window and use that for an auxiliary light. That's what we do too.
Okay. Most of us probably don't have enough window space that gets really good enough light to really prompt those along. But some people may have, if they just have a few plants and they get some really great sun coming through the windows. It may be enough, but that special light or that additional light really helps them along.
And regardless of the type of light you have, you want to take and turn the containers every day.
Every day.
Yeah, yep, because they grow a lot. We've got cabbage plants that are probably 3.5 inches now that have just been in the ground 3 weeks. So they really pop.
Okay. Now, do we need to add any fertilizer at this point when those little seeds are just popping up?
Well, some of that commercially manufactured potting soil for starting seeds have got like a 6-week supply of fertilizer in them, and I don't know how they determine that, but otherwise there's some fertilizer available that you can mix in with the water.
Okay, but we need to be a little careful, right? We don't want full-powered fertilizer at this point.
Well, you kind of want to, moderation.
These are babies.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you've got these cabbage plants going, and when is the first time you're going to get them outside?
Well, about April 15th.
Okay.
If it isn't raining
Yeah.
or snowing.
Yes.
Cabbage will take some pretty cold weather. I mean, they'll take several days or several nights of freezing weather and still be fine.
But for most plants, we need to be aware of that frost-free date and not get too anxious.
Yeah, and in the Atlantic or Audubon area, it's about May 8th. So.
May 8th or 10th. So don't get real anxious about getting them out there. And then, of course, there are covers that we could put on them. We could protect them if we think that there's going to be some frost. I start saving my milk cartons long ahead.
Yep, milk jugs work good.
Yeah, very good. Okay, we have just a little bit left, but I want you to tell folks about that slow watering system that you put together with the bucket.
Oh, on mature plants?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we just use a 5-gallon bucket, and we've drilled, I believe it's a 3/32 hole, and down in the side, down at the bottom, and like for tomatoes, if you want to water them 2 gallons, you just set the bucket so that that hole is facing the stem, and put in 2 gallons of water, and it'll take about 15-20 minutes for that to trickle out of there, and it'll shoot right out against the stem of the tomato, and you give it an ample supply of water, and you don't have the runoff on it.
Right. You don't waste any of the water. It goes all where it needs to be.
Yep.
So, yeah, I thought that
And
was a great idea.
and you can rotate the buckets from one day to the next if
Mhm.
you're watering peppers or broccoli
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, it's just the bucket doesn't have to sit there all
Yeah.
the time either.
There,
So
there you go. Well, thank you very much, Robert, for giving us some of these hints, and hopefully it'll encourage some folks to get started, whether they have a little bitty space or a great big space or container, whatever, kind of get that green thumb going. So thanks so much, Robert.
you bet. Thank you.
Till next time, here's the thought. There is no gardening without humility. Nature is constantly sending even its oldest scholars to the bottom of the class for some silly blunder.